My name is Clara, and at 32, I thought I had my life figured out, a loving husband, a successful career, and a future mapped out with perfect clarity. Then one Wednesday afternoon, a delivery of lavender roses appeared on my desk with a card that read, "You deserve better. See you Friday." The handwriting wasn't my husband's, but somehow the sender knew things about me that no stranger should know. What started as a mysterious gift quickly unraveled into a nightmare that made me question everything I thought I knew about the man I'd been married to for 4 years. If you're watching this right now, drop a comment below telling me where you're from, and make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to hear more stories. The alarm went off at 6:30 a.m., same as always. I reached across the bed to silence it, my hand brushing against Evan's warm back. He stirred, mumbling something incoherent before rolling toward me with that sleepy smile I'd fallen in love with 4 years ago. "Morning, beautiful," he whispered, pressing a kiss to my forehead. "Morning." I stretched, feeling the familiar comfort of our routine settling around me like a blanket. This was my life, predictable, stable, safe. Exactly what I'd always wanted. By 7, we were both moving through the apartment in our practice dance. Evan grabbed his travel mug while I touched up my lipstick in the hallway mirror. He kissed me goodbye at the door, his cologne lingering even after he rushed out, already taking a call on his Bluetooth. I noticed the tension in his voice as the door closed, but I shrugged it off. Evan was always stressed about work. Senior VP positions came with that territory. The office was its usual chaos when I arrived. My marketing firm thrived on controlled pandemonium, and today was no different. I'd barely settled at my desk when Jenna from accounts leaned over my cubicle wall. "Coffee run in 10. You in?" "Always," I laughed. She grinned. "God, I wish my boyfriend was half as romantic as Evan. Did you see the earrings he got you last week?" "I'm still dying." I touched my ears self-consciously, feeling the small diamonds Evan had surprised me with. "He spoils me." Understatement of the year. Jenna sighed dramatically before disappearing. The morning blurred by in a stream of emails and client calls. Around noon, I was deep in a campaign proposal when my desk phone rang. "Clara Bennett? You have a delivery at the front desk." I frowned. I wasn't expecting anything. Maybe Evan had sent lunch again? He'd done that last month after I mentioned craving Thai food. But when I reached the lobby, the receptionist handed me a white box, elegant, unmarked, tied with a silk ribbon the color of storm clouds. "No sender name?" I asked. She shook her head. "Courier just said it was for you. Someone's popular today." Back at my desk, I set the box down carefully. My fingers trembled slightly as I untied the ribbon. Ridiculous, really, but something about the anonymity felt strange. Inside, nestled in tissue paper, were lavender roses. Not purple, not violet, that specific shade of lavender that reminded me of twilight. My breath caught. Oh my God. Jenna appeared behind me. "Clara, those are gorgeous." Evan really outdid himself this time. But I couldn't speak. These weren't just any lavender roses. They were my favorite, a color I'd loved since childhood, since my grandmother's garden where flowers this exact shade grew wild along the fence. But I'd never mentioned it to Evan. Not once in 4 years. I barely posted about flowers online. How could he know? "There's a card," Jenna said, plucking the small envelope from between the stems. My hands felt cold as I opened it. The handwriting was neat, unfamiliar. "You deserve better. See you Friday." The words seemed to pulse on the paper. Cryptic, Jenna laughed. Very mysterious romantic vibes. What does Friday mean? I don't know. My voice sounded distant to my own ears. She waggled her eyebrows. Maybe he's planning something big. Anniversary coming up? Not for 2 months. I forced a smile as more coworkers gathered around, cooing over the flowers, making jokes about how I'd won the husband lottery. I nodded along, but my mind was spinning. After they dispersed, I lifted the roses carefully from the box to move them to my desk. That's when I saw it, a small photograph, face down at the bottom. I picked it up with fingers that suddenly wouldn't stay steady. It was me and Evan. Last night. At Marcello's, our favorite Italian place. I was laughing at something he'd said, wine glass raised, and he was looking at his phone. We were wearing the exact same clothes currently hanging in my closet at home. Same earrings.
Same tie.
But we'd been alone. We'd specifically chosen the corner booth for privacy. And this angle, this was taken from across the restaurant, zoomed in, crystal clear. Someone had been watching us. Someone had been close enough to photograph us, without either of us noticing. The office suddenly felt too bright, too loud. I grabbed the photo, the card, and my phone, mumbling something to Jenna about the bathroom. Inside the stall, I locked the door and sat on the closed toilet lid, hands shaking as I held the photo under my phone's flashlight. Every detail was there. The scratch on Evan's watch, the wine stain on the tablecloth from when I gestured too enthusiastically. The handwriting on the card wasn't Evan's. His was all messy capitals and hurried loops. This was careful, deliberate. Almost elegant. You deserve better. Better than what? Better than Evan? See you Friday. Today was Wednesday. 2 days away. I whispered into the empty bathroom, my voice barely audible over the hum of the ventilation system. Who are you? No one answered. Of course no one answered. But somewhere, someone knew where I'd been last night. Someone knew what I liked. Someone was watching. And they were coming for me on Friday. I called Evan during my lunch break, trying to keep my voice light and casual. The phone rang 4 times before he picked up. Hey babe, what's up? I'm about to head into a meeting. Quick question. Did you send flowers to my office today? Silence stretched for a beat too long. Then he laughed. Flowers?
No, why?
Should I have? Someone sent me lavender roses. I thought maybe you. Lavender. He sounded genuinely confused. That's specific. Not my usual style. You know I always do red.
He was right.
Evan's romantic gestures were traditional. Red roses, chocolates, the occasional jewelry. Never anything as unusual as lavender. So you have a secret admirer, he continued, and I could hear the smile in his voice. Should I be worried? Of course not. I tried to laugh it off. Just weird. No card or anything. The lie came easily. Too easily. Probably a grateful client or something, Evan said. Listen, I really have to go. Love you. Love you too. The line went dead. I stared at my phone, at my reflection in its black screen. Why had I lied about the card? At lunch, I met Nora at our usual cafe. She'd been my best friend since college, the person who knew me better than anyone, sometimes better than Evan did. If anyone could help me make sense of this, it was her. Okay, so mysterious flowers with a cryptic message, Nora said, stirring her iced latte. And a photo of you and Evan from last night. That's either really romantic or really creepy. I'm leaning toward creepy, I said quietly. Did you check your Instagram? Maybe someone saw you tag the location. I pulled out my phone and scrolled through my posts. Nothing from last night. Nothing from Marcelo's at all in the past month. I didn't post anything. What about Evan? I checked his profile. His last post was from a week ago, some motivational quote about leadership. Nothing. Nora leaned back, thinking. You do post a lot of dinner selfies, though. Maybe someone's been following your patterns? Figured out your favorite spots. The thought made my skin crawl. That's even worse. Or, she said, trying for optimism. It's a prank. You know how competitive your office gets. Maybe someone's messing with you. I wanted to believe her. God, I wanted to believe her. But the handwriting, the specific flowers, the timing, none of it felt like a prank. Back at the office, I tried focusing on the campaign meeting, but every few minutes my mind would drift back to that card. You deserve better. Better than what? Better than my marriage? My job? My life? At 4:37 p.m., my email pinged with a new message. The subject line was blank. The sender, Doyano11101@protonmail.com. My mouse hovered over it for a full minute before I clicked. Do you still think he's faithful? Below the text was an attachment. My hands trembled as I downloaded it. The image was blurry, taken from a distance in what looked like a parking garage. But I could make out Evan's car, that distinctive gray Audi with the small dent in the back bumper from when he backed into a pole last year. And beside it, a woman. She was handing him something, leaning close, her hand on his arm in a gesture that seemed too familiar, too comfortable. I couldn't see her face clearly, but she had dark hair, wore heels, a business suit. They looked like they were having an intimate conversation. My office suddenly felt airless. I forwarded the email to my personal account and deleted it from my work inbox, then cleared my trash folder. My heart was hammering so hard I thought my coworkers might hear it. That evening, I showed Evan the flowers at home. Not the card, not the photo, just the flowers, arranged prettily in a vase on our kitchen counter. "Someone at work sent these?" he asked, barely glancing up from his laptop. They were delivered to the office. No sender name.
Huh. Pretty.
He finally looked at them, then at me. "You're not actually worried about this, are you? Should I be?" He closed his laptop and pulled me onto his lap, wrapping his arms around my waist. "Clara, you're the love of my life. Some mystery flowers don't change that. Besides," he added with a grin, "I'd never use lavender roses. Too pretentious." I laughed despite myself, burying my face in his neck. He smelled like his cologne and coffee, familiar and safe. But then I mentioned it casually, testing. There was a card, too. Said, "See you Friday." I felt him stiffen beneath me. Just for a second, a barely perceptible tension in his shoulders before he relaxed again. "Weird," he said, his voice carefully neutral. "Maybe it's for a company event or something?" "Maybe," I echoed. But that night, I couldn't sleep. I lay beside Evan, listening to his steady breathing, and every time I closed my eyes I saw that parking garage photo. The woman's hand on his arm. His body language, relaxed and familiar. I dreamed I was back at Marcello's, sitting in our corner booth. But this time, when I looked across the restaurant, there was someone there, a figure obscured by lavender roses, watching me from the shadows. I tried to see their face, but every time I focused, the flowers multiplied, filling my vision until I couldn't breathe. I woke gasping at 3:47 a.m. Evan slept on, undisturbed. Over the next day, I started noticing things. Small things. Evan kept his phone face down now. He'd started taking calls in the other room. Tuesday night, he'd mentioned a dinner meeting on Friday specifically, and when I'd asked about it, he'd been vague. Just client stuff. Boring. Wednesday morning, I circled Friday on the calendar hanging in our kitchen, my hand shaking slightly as the marker squeaked across the paper. 2 days. See you Friday. Whatever was coming, I'd know the truth soon.
And I wasn't sure I wanted to.
Thursday morning arrived with a sharp knock on my office door. I looked up from my computer to see Marcus from the mailroom holding another package. "Second delivery for you this week, Ms. Bennett. You celebrating something?" My stomach dropped. "What is it?" "Feels like an envelope. Same deal as yesterday, no return address." I took it with numb fingers. It was silver, metallic, expensive looking. My name was written in the same handwriting as the card from the flowers. "Thanks, Marcus." The moment he left, I tore it open. Inside was a single card, cream-colored, and a small black USB drive. The note read, "You don't know what he's hiding. I'll prove it to you tomorrow." The flash drive was labeled in tiny print, Friday. I stared at it, this small piece of plastic that apparently held the key to everything. My hands were shaking so badly, I almost dropped it. Another gift? Jenna appeared at my cubicle entrance, making me jump. "You okay? You look pale."
"Ivy fine."
I shoved the flash drive into my purse. "Just too much coffee." "Well, pace yourself. Big presentation this afternoon, remember?" I'd completely forgotten.
"Right. Yes."
"I'm ready." I wasn't ready for anything. At lunch, I called Nora from my car, doors locked, windows up. "They sent another message," I said without preamble. "A flash drive. Labeled Friday. Clara, this is getting serious. You need to call the police." "And tell them what?" "Someone sent me flowers and a USB drive. They'll think I'm paranoid. Someone's been photographing you and Evan without your knowledge. That's stalking." She was right. I knew she was right.
But something stopped me. Some part of me needed to know what was on that drive first. Needed to understand who was doing this and why.
Just, let me see what's on it first, I said. Tomorrow. After I know what I'm dealing with. Nora sighed heavily.
Fine.
But I'm coming over tomorrow night whether you like it or not. You shouldn't be alone for this. Thank you, I whispered. That evening, Evan was already home when I arrived. Unusual for a Thursday. He was on the couch, TV on but clearly not watching it, his expression distant. You're home early, I said, setting down my bag carefully, hyper-aware of the flash drive inside. Finished early. He didn't look at me. How was your day?
Fine.
I moved to the kitchen, needing distance. More flowers? What? Did more flowers arrive?
Oh, no.
Just the one delivery. He muted the TV. Clara, are you okay? You've been acting strange. The irony almost made me laugh.
I've fine.
Just stressed about work. We spent the evening in careful politeness, dancing around each other like strangers. Every time he left the room, I found myself wondering what he was really doing. Every time his phone buzzed, I wondered who was texting. At 11:47 p.m., after Evan had gone to bed, I sat at my laptop in our home office, door locked, the flash drive heavy in my palm. This was it. Whatever was on here would change everything. I plugged it in. The folder that opened was labeled Evidence and contained 16 image files, numbered sequentially. My cursor hovered over the first one. I clicked. It was Evan. Outside a hotel. The timestamp in the corner read 3 months ago, July 14th. With him was a woman, the same dark-haired woman from the parking garage photo. They were laughing, his hand on her lower back in a way that spoke of intimacy. I clicked the next image. Different day, August 2nd. Same woman. They were having coffee, leaning close across a small table. Next image. August 19th. They were getting into his car together. I clicked through them all, my heart dying a little more with each one. September, October, November. The timestamps were relentless. 2 weeks ago. 1 week ago. The last photo, dated yesterday, Wednesday, showed them in what looked like a parking garage. The same photo from the email, but clearer now. I could see his face better, see the way he smiled at her. But it was the final image that destroyed me. It was a clear shot, taken from perhaps 50 feet away, with a zoom lens. The woman's face, finally visible in full. It was Nora, my best friend, my confidant. The person I'd called this afternoon, the person who'd told me to go to the police, who'd promised to come over tomorrow.
Nora.
And Evan. For months. The laptop screen blurred as tears filled my eyes. I covered my mouth to keep from making a sound, shoulders shaking with silent sobs. How long? How long had they been doing this? How many times had I cried to her about feeling distant from Evan while they? My phone buzzed on the desk, making me jump. A new email, from the same anonymous address. Tomorrow 8 p.m.
Berkshire Cafe.
I'll tell you everything. Come alone. I stared at the message until my vision cleared, until the grief crystallized into something harder. Something sharp.
Tomorrow.
Friday. I'd be there. I didn't sleep. Couldn't sleep. I lay beside Evan in our bed, where we'd made love and plans and promises, and felt like I was sleeping next to a stranger. Every time he shifted, I tensed. Every breath felt like a lie. By the time dawn broke, I'd rehearsed 1,000 conversations in my head. Confrontations, accusations, calm inquiries. None of them felt right. None of them captured the hollowness expanding in my chest. Friday morning. The day I'd been dreading and desperate for. Evan woke at his usual time, stretched, smiled at me. Morning, beautiful. The same words as always, but now they tasted like poison. Morning, I managed. At breakfast, we sat across from each other at our small kitchen table. He scrolled through his phone, occasionally making small comments about the news. I pushed eggs around my plate, unable to eat. I have that dinner meeting tonight, he said casually. The client thing I mentioned. Probably won't be back until late. Of course he did. That's fine. I actually have a work thing too. Drinks with the team. He looked up, surprised. On a Friday night? Someone's birthday. I lied smoothly. You know how Jenna is about celebrations.
Right. He smiled, satisfied.
Well, have fun. Don't let them make you do karaoke again.
We both laughed.
Like everything was normal. Like our entire marriage wasn't built on lies. He left for work at 7:30. I waited until his car pulled out of the parking lot before I let myself break down, sobbing into my coffee cup until I had nothing left. At noon, another delivery arrived at my office. This time I wasn't surprised. Inside the small package was a single lavender rose, wrapped in brown paper. The note attached read, "Tonight, truth blooms." Truth blooms. How poetic. How cruel. I called the flower shop listed on the wrapping paper, my voice steady despite the tremor in my hands. "Lily's Flowers. How can I help you?" "Hi, I received a delivery from you today. Lavender rose?" I was wondering about the sender information. "Let me check. Okay, yes, that order. It was placed online but picked up and paid for in cash. The person who picked it up was male. That's all I've got in the notes." "Do you have security cameras?" "Aye, ma'am. Is everything okay?" "Please. It's important." A pause. "We do, but I can't just give out footage. If you're concerned about something, you should contact the police." I thanked her and hung up. The police. Everyone kept saying that. But what would I tell them? My husband is cheating with my best friend, and someone sending me flowers about it? As I left work at 7:30, I noticed it. A black sedan, parked across the street, engine running. The same car I'd glimpsed outside my house on Tuesday. The same one I'd seen in my rearview mirror Wednesday afternoon. Someone was watching me even now.
Good.
Let them watch. Parkside Cafe was a small, quiet place on the edge of downtown, the kind of spot that served overpriced coffee and attracted freelancers with laptops. I arrived at 7:45, wanting to be early, to have some semblance of control. I chose a table by the window where I could see the door and settled into wait. My phone sat face up on the table, recording audio in my notes app. Whatever happened tonight, I'd have proof. At exactly 8 p.m., the door chimed. A man walked in, mid-30s, dark hair, calm gray eyes that swept the cafe before landing on me. He wore a simple black jacket and jeans, carrying himself with quiet confidence. In his hand was a single lavender rose. He walked directly to my table and set the flower down between us. "Clara Bennett." "Who are you?" My voice came out steadier than I felt. "May I sit?" I gestured to the empty chair. My heart was hammering, but I kept my face composed. He sat, folded his hands on the table, and looked at me with something that might have been sympathy. "You don't know me," he said quietly, "but you should. My name is Liam Rhodes." Rhodes. The name from Evan's hidden documents. "I'm your husband's brother." The words hit me like a physical blow. "Evan doesn't have a brother." "That's what he told you, isn't it?" Liam's smile was sad. "He's told a lot of lies, Clara."
To you?
"To others. That's what he does." "I don't understand. Evan Bennett isn't his real name." Liam reached into his jacket slowly, giving me time to react, and pulled out a folder. "His real name is Evan Rhodes. 5 years ago, he disappeared from Chicago after a fraud investigation. A woman went missing around the same time, his business partner's wife. The case went cold." He slid the folder across the table. I stared at it, afraid to open it. He changed his identity, moved to 3 different cities, building new lives each time. "You're not the first woman he's married under false pretenses." "That's not, Evan wouldn't," but my voice broke on the words. "Look at the folder, Clara." With shaking hands, I opened it. Inside were police reports, newspaper clippings, photographs, and one that made my blood run cold. Evan, my Evan, unmistakably him, standing in front of a different house with a different woman and a little boy. The photo was dated 6 years ago. The caption underneath read, "Eric Boyd, wife Michelle, and son Tyler celebrate Christmas in Portland." Eric Boyd. Another name. Another life. Another family. "I don't believe you," I whispered, but the evidence was right there, irrefutable. "The woman in the photos with him, Nora Martinez," Liam continued. "She's been helping me. She became your friend on purpose, to stay close, to protect you and gather evidence. I know seeing those photos must have hurt, but they're not what you think. She's never betrayed you. My mind spun. Then, why did someone send me those photos, making it look like Evan found out what we were doing? He's been manipulating both of you, using your friendship against you, making you doubt each other so you wouldn't trust anyone but him. Liam leaned forward. He does this, Clara. Isolates his victims. Makes them dependent. Then he takes what he wants and disappears. I thought of the flash drive, the carefully selected photos, the timing, making me think Nora had betrayed me, making me paranoid and alone. Where is he now? I asked. Liam checked his watch. According to his calendar, he should be at a restaurant downtown. With another woman, his next target most likely. That's his pattern. He sets up the next life before abandoning the current one. Before I could respond, before I could process any of this, Liam's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, and his expression changed. We need to leave. Now. What? Why? He's not at the restaurant. Liam stood quickly. His car's GPS, it's here. He's coming here. My blood turned to ice. How is that possible? How did he know? But I knew. Somehow he'd known all along. Liam grabbed my arm gently but firmly. Clara, listen to me carefully. Do you trust me? I looked at this stranger, this man claiming to be my husband's brother, bearing proof that my entire marriage was a fabrication. And I thought about Evan's calm smile this morning, his easy lies, the locked drawer, the photos, the years of careful deception. Yes, I whispered. Then we run. Right now. The cafe door chimed again. We both turned. Evan stood in the doorway, his eyes finding mine immediately. He smiled, that same warm smile I'd fallen in love with, and started walking toward us. Clara, he said gently, like nothing was wrong. I think we need to talk. Don't, Liam said quietly, his hand still on my arm. But I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. Evan was walking toward us with that easy confidence, that familiar stride I'd watched 1,000 times, coming home from work, walking through grocery stores, crossing parking lots to meet me. Now it felt predatory. Clara, sweetheart, Evan said, stopping a few feet from our table. His eyes flicked to Liam, then back to me. Who's your friend? Someone who knows who you really are. I managed, my voice barely above a whisper. Evan's expression didn't change, but something shifted in his eyes. A calculation. I think there's been a misunderstanding. Why don't we go home and talk about this? I'm not going anywhere with you. Clara. Is your name even Evan? The words came out stronger now, anger cutting through the fear. Or is it Eric? Nathan? How many names do you have? For the first time, his mask cracked. Just slightly. A tightness around his mouth. A coldness entering those eyes I'd once thought were filled with love. We should go, Liam repeated urgently. Now. He was right. But my legs wouldn't cooperate. For years of my life, for years of believing in something that was never real, had rooted me to this spot. Evan took another step forward. Clara, I can explain everything. But not here. Not like this. Then how? My voice broke. How do you explain the lies? The other families? The woman who disappeared? His jaw clenched. For a moment, I thought he might lunge forward, might drop the pretense entirely. But then he seemed to collect himself, his features smoothing back into that concerned husband expression. 1 hour, he said softly. Give me 1 hour to explain. Then, if you still want to leave, I won't stop you. It was Liam who made the decision for me. He pulled me firmly toward the back exit, and this time my feet moved. I heard Evan call my name, but we were already pushing through the door into the alley behind the cafe. My car's 2 blocks north, Liam said, breaking into a run. I ran too, my heels clicking on the pavement, my purse banging against my hip. Behind us, I heard the cafe door slam open again. We reached Liam's car, a nondescript gray sedan, and threw ourselves inside. He started the engine before I even had my seatbelt on, pulling into traffic with a screech of tires. I twisted in my seat, looking back. Evan stood in the street, illuminated by a streetlight, watching us drive away. He didn't chase us, didn't run, just stood there with his hands in his pockets, calm as ever. That somehow terrified me more than anything. "Where are we going?" I asked. "Somewhere safe. Somewhere he won't think to look." Liam's knuckles were white on the steering wheel. "I'm sorry you had to find out this way. How long have you been following him?" "Following me? 3 months. Since we tracked him to the city."
He glanced at me.
"I know this is a lot to process." "A lot." I laughed, high and sharp. "My entire marriage is a lie. My husband has multiple identities. My best friend has been spying on me." "To protect you," Liam interrupted. "Nora's been trying to keep you safe while we built a case. Those photos you saw were from her surveillance work. She was documenting his movements, not sleeping with him." I wanted to believe him. God, I wanted to believe at least one person in my life hadn't betrayed me. But trust felt like a luxury I couldn't afford anymore. We drove in silence for 20 minutes, taking random turns, clearly trying to lose anyone who might be following. Finally, Liam pulled into the parking lot of a cheap motel on the outskirts of the city. "Wait here," he said, getting out. Through the windshield, I watched him talk to the clerk, exchange cash for a key. The neon sign flickered above us. Vacancy. How appropriate. I felt vacant. Hollowed out. Liam returned and led me to room 17 on the second floor. Inside was exactly what you'd expect. 2 double beds with scratchy-looking comforters, a bathroom that had seen better days, and the faint smell of cigarettes despite the "No smoking" sign. "It's not much," Liam said, "but it's safe. Paid in cash, no ID required." I sank onto the bed closest to the door, still clutching my purse. Inside was my phone, my wallet, my keys to a home I couldn't return to. My entire life reduced to the contents of a handbag. "I need to call Nora," I said. Liam hesitated. "Your phone? Evan might have tracking software on it. A lot of them do." "Of course he does," I said bitterly. But I called her anyway, because if there was even a chance Liam was telling the truth about her, I needed to know. She answered on the first ring. "Clara? Oh my God, Clara. Where are you? Are you safe? Did you sleep with my husband?" I asked directly. A beat of shocked silence.
"What? No."
"Clara, who told you? Someone sent me photos. You and Evan.
Dozens of them.
Looking very cozy." "Those were surveillance photos," Nora said urgently. "I've been helping document his activities. I was going to tell you everything, but we needed more evidence first. I swear to you, nothing happened between us. He's a monster, Clara. We've been trying to protect you." I closed my eyes. "Why didn't you just tell me? Would you have believed me? 3 months ago, if I told you your husband was a con artist with multiple identities, would you have listened? Or would you have thought I was crazy? Jealous?" She was right. I would have chosen Evan. I would have chosen the lie. "Where are you?" Nora asked. "Let me come to you." "No," Liam said sharply, loud enough for her to hear through the phone. "Evan might be watching you. If you lead him to her." "I'm careful," Nora snapped back. "I've been doing this longer than you have, Rhodes." "Both of you stop," I said, exhausted. "I can't. I just need a minute to think." "Clara, listen to me." Nora's voice softened. "I know you're scared and confused,
But you need to stay away from him.
don't go back to that apartment. Don't go anywhere he'd expect. He's dangerous." "How dangerous?" I whispered. The silence on the other end told me everything. "The woman who disappeared in Chicago," I said. "What happened to her?" "They never found her body," Nora said quietly. "But her bank accounts were drained the day before she vanished. And Evan, or whatever he was calling himself then, disappeared the same day." My stomach lurched. I'd been sleeping next to this man. I'd trusted him with everything. "I have to go," I said. "I'll call you tomorrow." I hung up before she could argue. Liam was watching me carefully. "You should get some rest. Tomorrow we'll figure out next steps." "Next steps," I repeated numbly. "Like what?"
Divorce?
"Witness protection? How do you divorce someone who doesn't technically exist?" "One thing at a time." He moved toward the door. I'm in room 19, right next door. Lock this behind me. Don't open it for anyone but me. After he left, I engaged the deadbolt, the chain lock, and pushed the chair under the door handle for good measure. Then I sat on the bed and finally let myself fall apart. I cried until my throat was raw, until no more tears would come. I cried for the woman I'd been that morning. Naive, trusting, married to a man I thought I knew. I cried for the future we'd planned, kids, a house in the suburbs, growing old together. All of it smoke and mirrors. Sometime after midnight, I fell into a fitless sleep, still fully clothed, my phone clutched in my hand like a lifeline. I dreamed of lavender roses growing from the floor of our apartment, their stems wrapping around my ankles, pulling me down into darkness, while Evan watched from the doorway, smiling. Morning came too soon, and not soon enough. I woke to sunlight streaming through the cheap motel curtains, disoriented and aching. For one blissful moment, I forgot where I was and why. Then reality crashed back in. I checked my phone. 47 missed calls from Evan. 23 text messages, increasingly frantic. Where are you? Clara, please, let's talk. I can explain everything. You're scaring me. If you don't call back, I'm filing a missing persons report. The last one almost made me laugh. A missing persons report. From a man who'd made multiple people disappear. There was also a text from Nora. Coffee in my place? I have documents you need to see. And one from Liam. Don't respond to any of his messages. We'll talk strategy this morning. Strategy. Like this was a war. I supposed it was. I showered in the motel's tiny bathroom, letting the hot water wash away the previous night's tears. But it couldn't wash away the weight of knowledge that my entire adult life had been built on a foundation of lies. A knock at the door made me jump. Clara? It's Liam. I opened the door to find him holding 2 cups of coffee and a bag from a nearby fast food restaurant. Thought you might be hungry. We sat at the small table by the window, and he laid out his plan while I picked at a breakfast sandwich I couldn't taste. We have documentation of his other identities, Liam said, but we need more to build a solid case. Financial records, proof of fraud, something concrete linking him to the disappearances. What do you need from me? Access to his office at home. His computer, his files, anything he might have hidden. Liam pulled out a small device that looked like a thumb drive. This will clone his hard drive. 5 minutes, and we'll have everything. You want me to go back there? I said flatly. I know it's asking a lot. It's asking everything. But even as I said it, I knew I'd do it. Not for Liam, not for justice, but for me. For the closure I needed. When? Today. Before he changes his routine, or clears his office. He'll be at work until at least 5. The plan was simple. I'd go to the apartment during the day, plant the device, and get out. Liam would be nearby, monitoring. If Evan came home early, I'd get a warning. Simple. Terrifying. Necessary. By 2 p.m., I was standing outside my own apartment building, keys in my shaking hand. It felt surreal, sneaking into my own home like a thief. The apartment was exactly as I'd left it. Coffee mug in the sink. Evan's jacket on the hook by the door. The lavender roses, now wilting, still in their vase on the kitchen counter. A monument to how this had all started. I moved quickly to Evan's office, a small room he'd claimed for work calls and late-night emails. The locked drawer I'd found earlier was still locked. I used a letter opener to jimmy it, my hand steadier than I expected. Inside were the documents I'd seen before, papers with the name Evan Rhodes, old IDs, a passport with his photo but a different name entirely, Nathan Cole. And beneath those a small black notebook. I opened it, and my blood ran cold. Pages and pages of notes. Names of women. Dates. Cities. Dollar amounts written beside each name. $45K, $78,000, $120,000. They were all listed like inventory. Like transactions. Near the end, my name, Clara Bennett, EST $95,000 available. Liquidate by Q1. I was a mark. A target. A number in his ledger. The room spun. I braced myself against the desk, fighting the urge to vomit. My phone buzzed. Liam. Everything okay? You've been in there 15 minutes. I photographed every page of the notebook, downloaded the cloning software to Evan's computer, and grabbed the passport and notebook as physical evidence. Then I did something impulsive, something I knew I shouldn't. I called Evan. He answered immediately. Clara, where have you been? I've been worried sick. I'm at the apartment, I said, my voice surprisingly steady. You need to come home. A pause. You're home? That's great. I'll leave work right now.
No.
Not yet. I sat in his desk chair, surrounded by the evidence of his lies. First, I want you to explain something to me. Who is Nathan Cole? Silence stretched between us like a wire pulled taut. Clara.
Who is
Nathan
Cole?
Where did you hear that name?
His voice had changed.
No more concerned husband. This was someone else entirely. I'm looking at his passport right now. Your face, his name. Along with Eric Boyd's ID, Evan Rhodes' birth certificate, and a very interesting notebook. You want to tell me about the notebook, Evan? About the $95,000 you estimated you could steal from me? It's not what you think. Then what is it? I was yelling now, weeks of fear and confusion boiling over. Explain it to me. Explain the other families. Explain the women. Explain why my entire marriage is a fucking transaction in your ledger. I never wanted to hurt you, he said quietly. That's the truth. The truth? You wouldn't know the truth if it hit you in the face. I'm coming home, he said. We'll talk about this face to face.
Fine.
Come home. I'll be here. I hung up and immediately texted Liam. He's coming.
Now.
Liam's response was instant, get out. That wasn't the plan. But I didn't want to run anymore. I wanted answers. I wanted to look him in the eye and ask him why. Why me? Why any of us? I heard his car pull up 15 minutes later. Heard his footsteps on the stairs, his key in the lock. Part of me wanted to run.
The smarter part of me.
But I stayed seated at his desk, the notebook open in front of me. Evan entered his office and stopped in the doorway. We stared at each other across the small room, and I saw a stranger. How had I ever thought I knew this man? Clara, he started. Is that even your real name? Evan. He ran a hand through his hair, a gesture I'd seen 1,000 times when he was stressed. It's one of them. How comforting. I stood, picking up the notebook. Did you ever love me? Or was I always just a number to you? I cared about you, he said, stepping into the room. More than the others. That's why I've stayed as long as I did. How noble. My laugh was bitter. You stayed an extra year before ruining my life. I should be grateful. This isn't who I wanted to be, Evan said, and for a moment, he almost sounded genuine. I got in too deep. Made mistakes. Then I had to keep running, keep reinventing. It became a pattern I couldn't break. You could have stopped. You could have chosen differently. Could I? He moved closer. When you're this far in, there's no going back. No clean exit. Just forward. Always forward. And what about the woman in Chicago? The one who disappeared? Did she also not get a clean exit? His expression hardened. That's complicated. I'm sure it is. I held up the notebook. I'm keeping this. And the passport. And every piece of evidence in this drawer. I'm going to the police. Clara, don't. Not a threat. A plea. You do that and my life is over. Your life? I stepped toward him, shaking with rage. Your life? What about mine? What about all the women you conned? What about their lives? I never hurt anyone physically, he said, as if that made it better. You destroyed people. You made them doubt reality, doubt themselves. You took their money, their trust, their futures. How is that not hurting them? We stood 3 feet apart, and I could see the calculation in his eyes. He was weighing his options, deciding whether to try to convince me, control me, or simply take what he needed and run. What happens now? He asked quietly.
Now.
I clutched the notebook tighter. Now you're going to tell me everything. Every name, every city, every victim. And then I'm walking out that door, and you're going to let me. And if I don't, my phone was recording audio in my pocket. Liam was listening from his car outside. I wasn't as alone as Evan thought. Then I scream, I said simply. And every neighbor in this building will hear what a monster you are. For a long moment, we just stared at each other. Then, slowly, Evan sank into the chair I'd vacated, defeated. Chicago first? He asked wearily. Or should I start from the beginning?
The beginning, I said.
Tell me everything. And he did. Evan's real name was David Reeves. At least, that's what his birth certificate said. Everything else was a construction, a carefully built facade designed to hide a man who'd been running since he was 23. I started with credit card fraud, he said, staring at his hands. Small stuff. Then identity theft. It was easy money, and I was good at it. But you can't stay in that world without making enemies. So you reinvented yourself, I said, still standing, refusing to get comfortable. Eric Boyd first.
Portland.
I met Michelle at a coffee shop. She was sweet, trusting. Had a kid from a previous marriage, Tyler. I played the role of stepfather for 2 years. Drained her savings slowly. Left before she could figure it out. My stomach turned. You abandoned a child. I know what I am, he said quietly. You don't have to tell me. But I wanted to tell him. I wanted to scream it. Instead, I asked, what about Nathan Cole? Seattle. Worked for a tech startup. Met a woman named Jennifer. She had money, family money, trust fund. I married her, convinced her to invest in a business opportunity. Took everything. That's when I learned to be more careful about disappearing. And Chicago? Evan Rhodes. His jaw clenched. Chicago was different. I worked for an investment firm. Had a partner, Marcus Henderson. His wife, Amy, she figured out what I was doing. Found discrepancies in the accounts. She was going to the SEC. So you killed her. My voice was flat, emotionless. I didn't, he stopped himself. I don't know what happened to Amy. We argued. She threatened me. I left Chicago that night. When I heard she'd gone missing, I was already in Denver starting over. As Evan Bennett. He finally looked up at me. And then I met you. You were different. Smart, independent. You didn't need rescuing or protecting. You were just yourself. I think that's why I stayed longer than I should have. How flattering, I said bitterly. I was such a special victim. You weren't supposed to be a victim at all. He stood, and I automatically stepped back. The plan changed. I was going to leave the life behind. Build something real with you. But then Liam started tracking me, and Nora showed up pretending to be her friend. She was protecting me. She was using you as bait. His control slipped, voice rising. They wanted me to slip up, make a mistake. And I did. I cared about you too much to just disappear like I should have. So this is everyone else's fault. I laughed incredulously. Poor Evan, forced to con women because a PI was tracking him. I'm trying to explain. You're trying to manipulate me.
Still.
Even now. I shook my head. Did you ever tell me a true thing? Anything real? He was quiet for a long moment. Then, I do love lavender. That part was real.
Such a small thing.
Such a meaningless detail. And yet it made me want to cry. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed in my pocket. A text from Liam. Police 2 minutes out. You need to leave.
Now.
The police are coming, I said. Evan's expression shifted from resignation to panic in a heartbeat. You called them? Liam did. While you were confessing. I held up my phone. I've been recording everything. For the first time, I saw genuine fear in his eyes. Not calculated emotion, real fear. He moved toward me, and I backed up quickly. Clara, please.
Give me an hour.
Just 1 hour head start. Like you gave Amy Henderson? I didn't kill her. His voice cracked. I'm not a murderer. I'm not. I never hurt anyone physically. Just emotionally. Just financially. Just destroyed their ability to trust anyone ever again. I reached the door. Put my hand on the knob. Stay here. Face what you've done. I'll go to prison for the rest of my life. Good. I walked out. Behind me, I heard him call my name one last time, but I didn't turn around. I walked down the stairs, out of the building, into the bright afternoon sunlight where Liam waited beside his car. You okay? He asked. No, I said honestly. But I will be. Police cars pulled up moments later, lights flashing. I watched from across the street as they entered the building. Watched as they brought Evan out in handcuffs 15 minutes later. He scanned the crowd and found me, and our eyes locked for just a moment. I saw no remorse there. No apology. Just a kind of cold acceptance, like he'd always known this day would come. Then they put him in the car, and he was gone. 3 weeks later, I sat in Nora's apartment, the one place that had started to feel safe again, sorting through the documents Liam had compiled. 7 confirmed victims besides you, Nora said, pouring us both wine. And those are just the ones we can prove. There might be more. Jesus. I picked up a photo of a woman I'd never met. Michelle Boyd, Eric's abandoned wife. She looked happy in the picture, holding her son Tyler's hand. Has anyone contacted them? The FBI is reaching out. They'll need statements for the trial. Nora sat beside me. I know this is hard, but you did the right thing. Did I? Sometimes I wonder if I should have just let him run. Let him be someone else's problem. And leave all these women without closure? Without justice. Nora shook her head. You're stronger than you think, Clara.
Was I?
I didn't feel strong. I felt hollow.
Exhausted.
Some mornings I still woke up reaching for Evan before remembering he was never real to begin with. My phone buzzed with a call from an unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Clara Bennett? A woman's voice, older, measured. Yes, my name is Marissa Chen. I believe we have something in common. The name wasn't familiar. I'm sorry, do I know you?
No.
But you knew the man calling himself Evan Bennett. I knew him as Daniel Reeves. A pause. He was my husband 11 years ago. My breath caught. I thought David Reeves was his real name? It might be. Or it might be another lie. With him, you never knew. Her voice was kind but weathered. I wanted to call and say thank you for stopping him, for being brave enough to turn him in. I'm not brave, I whispered. I'm just tired. I know. Believe me, I know. I heard her take a breath. It took me 2 years to recover from what he did. To trust anyone again. To look at my bank account without panicking. But I did recover, Clara. And you will too. We talked for an hour. She told me her story, how she'd met David in Austin, how he'd convinced her to sell her childhood home and invest in his business venture, how he disappeared one night with every penny, leaving her with nothing but debt. I tried to find him, Marissa said. Hired investigators, filed reports. But he was a ghost. I'd started to think I'd never get any kind of justice. I'm sorry you went through that. Don't be sorry. Be angry. Use it. Her voice strengthened. Men like him count on us being too ashamed, too hurt to fight back. Don't give him that power. After we hung up, I felt something shift inside me. Not healing, not yet, but a kind of grim determination. Evan had taken 4 years of my life. He'd taken my trust, my savings, my sense of self. But he hadn't taken my future. That was still mine. Over the next weeks, I threw myself into recovery. Therapy 3 times a week. Support groups for fraud victims. Long conversations with Liam, who was surprisingly easy to talk to once the crisis had passed. What will you do now? I asked him one afternoon over coffee. Now that you've caught your man? Move on to the next case, he said. There's always someone else running. Someone else leaving victims behind. Don't you ever get tired of chasing ghosts? Sometimes. He smiled slightly. But then I meet someone like you. Someone who chose to fight back. And it makes it worth it. I learned that Nora really had been trying to protect me. That every coffee date, every sympathetic conversation, she'd been gathering information and watching for signs I was in danger. It took time, but slowly, I forgave her for the deception. She'd been trying to save me when I couldn't save myself. The trial was scheduled for 6 months out. I'd have to testify. Face Evan, David, whatever his name was, in court and recount how thoroughly he'd fooled me. The thought terrified me. But Marissa's words echoed. Use it. Don't give him that power. 8 weeks after Evan's arrest, I moved into a new apartment. Smaller than the one we'd shared, but it was mine. All mine. No hidden drawers, no locked safes, no secrets in the walls. I was unpacking boxes when a knock came at the door. The delivery man handed me a package with no return address, and my hands shook as I opened it. Inside was a single lavender rose. Fresh, perfect, impossibly beautiful. Beneath it, a card in familiar handwriting. Love deserves a second chance. See you soon. The world tilted. I stumbled backward, the rose falling from my hands. It wasn't possible. Evan was in prison. He had no way to send flowers. No way to reach me. I'd changed my address, my phone number. I'd been so careful. I grabbed my phone and called Liam, fingers fumbling over the screen. He's in custody, Liam said immediately when I told him. I just confirmed it 20 minutes ago. He's where he's supposed to be. Then who sent this? My voice was rising. Who knows where I live? Who? Clara, listen to me. It might be a copycat. Someone who heard about the case. Or it could be. A knock at my door. I froze, phone pressed to my ear. Someone's here. Don't open it, Liam said sharply. I'm 10 minutes away. Don't open that door. The knock came again. Louder this time. I moved toward the door like I was walking through water. Everything felt slow, surreal. This couldn't be happening. Not again. Not now. Clara? Liam's voice was distant. Are you there? Answer me. I looked through the peephole. A man stood in the hallway. Dark hair. Familiar build. But his face was angled away, looking down the hall. I can see someone, I whispered. I can't see his face. Is it him? Is it Evan? I don't know. I can't. The man turned. It wasn't Evan. It was someone I'd never seen before. Young, maybe mid-20s, wearing a delivery uniform. He held a clipboard. Miss Bennett, he called through the door. I have a delivery confirmation I need you to sign. Clara, don't open it, Liam repeated. But something made me look closer. The man's eyes were wrong, nervous, darting. His hand on the clipboard was shaking. Who sent you? I called through the door. Just need a signature, ma'am.
Who sent
You. He looked directly at the peephole then, and I saw real fear in his eyes. Please, ma'am. He said if I didn't deliver it, his voice broke. My blood ran cold. He who? I don't know his name. He just paid me, gave me the flower and the address and said. He swallowed hard. He said to tell you he keeps his promises, that he'll always find you. The hallway swam. This wasn't over. Maybe it would never be over. Clara? Talk to me. Liam's voice was sharp with panic. He's not alone, I said softly. Evan's not working alone. There's someone else. The delivery man set something down in front of my door and backed away quickly. I'm sorry, he said. I'm so sorry. Then he ran. I heard his footsteps echoing down the stairs, heard the building door slam. Silence settled around me like a shroud. I'm 2 minutes away, Liam said. Don't touch anything. Just wait. But I couldn't wait. I had to know. Had to see. I opened the door carefully, keeping the chain lock engaged. On my doormat sat another box.
White.
Elegant. Tied with a silk ribbon. Inside, I knew, would be more lavender roses. More messages. More threats disguised as romance. Because this was never about Evan.
It was about a pattern.
A system. Maybe multiple men, working together. Sharing victims. Teaching each other their tricks. How many of them were there? How many Davids and Erics and Nathans, moving through cities like shadows, leaving broken lives in their wake? I closed the door and locked every lock, then stood with my back against it, breathing hard. Liam arrived moments later. Through the peephole, I watched him photograph the box, bag it as evidence, his face grim. When I finally let him in, he took one look at me and said, "We're going to figure this out. I promise." But promises meant nothing anymore. That night, alone in my new apartment that suddenly didn't feel safe at all, I sat on my bed and stared at my phone. At the recording of Evan's confession. At the photos of all his victims. At the evidence we'd gathered so carefully. And I realized something. This wasn't the end of the story. It was just the beginning. Somewhere out there, someone else was planning, watching, waiting. Someone had sent those flowers. Someone had hired that terrified delivery man. Someone knew where I lived, what I feared, what would break me. Maybe it was a partner Evan had never mentioned. Maybe it was a victim who'd become a perpetrator. Maybe it was someone completely unexpected. But they were out there. And they were coming. I picked up the card from the roses, studying the handwriting. It looked like Evan's. But it couldn't be Evan's. Could it? Had someone forged it? Learned to mimic his style? Or had he somehow found a way to reach me even from behind bars? Love deserves a second chance.
See you soon.
My hands were shaking. My breath was coming too fast. But underneath the fear, something else was building. Something harder.
Sharper.
I was done being a victim. If they wanted to come for me, let them come. This time, I'd be ready. I picked up my phone and called Liam back. "Tell me everything," I said. "Every case you've worked, every pattern you've noticed, every way these men operate. I want to know it all." "Clara." "I'm not running anymore," I said firmly. "I'm not hiding. If there's someone out there, I'm going to find them first, before they can hurt anyone else." "You can't. Watch me." I hung up and stared at the lavender roses sitting in the box on my kitchen counter. They were beautiful in a way. Delicate.
Perfect.
But beauty could hide poison. And I was done being fooled. Tomorrow, I'd start digging. I'd contact every victim we'd found. I'd trace every alias, every city, every pattern. I'd become the hunter instead of the hunted. Because whoever was out there, whoever thought they could terrorize me with flowers and threatening notes, they'd made one critical mistake. They'd underestimated me. A knock sounded at my door. I froze. It was past midnight. Liam had left an hour ago. No one else should know where I was. The knock came again. 3 times. Deliberate. I grabbed my phone, ready to call 911, and moved slowly toward the door. Through the peephole, the hallway was empty. But on my doormat sat one more rose. Just one. Still dripping water, like it had just been cut. I stared at it, my heart hammering, and realized the truth. They weren't coming for me eventually. They were already here. If someone you loved turned out to be living a complete lie, would you have the courage to face the truth? Or would you choose the comfort of ignorance? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories that will make you question everything you thought you knew about trust and betrayal.